Hello, welcome to another Eagle6 Airsoft video. So this is a customer's build for a SD6 which we're going to try and video. So if you've not seen one of these video formats, I mean they essentially are a full gun disassembly and rebuild video, but we're just labelling it as just another video. So yeah, obviously, and we're just going to slowly try and build up a large back catalogue of obviously all the guns we do and all the work that we do, and just so people could just pick one and just start watching it and, you know, follow along themselves. Mostly obviously the video is for the customers and the customers' records, obviously that they can see a build and the build process of their own gun, which is always fun, you know. So when obviously you spend a lot of money on a product, and you get the video to go with it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, we obviously trying best to record everything. We reserve the right sometimes to get bored and miss sections, but we'll try our best to cover as much as it as possible. So basically a full package going in here, and we're pretty much just going to leave the camera on while we just crack on and do it. So yeah, a little bit of a sacrifice because we obviously don't get any you know, nice radios and stuff, you know, while we're sitting here teching. So obviously if we're going to be prepping this gearbox with obviously new bushings, new gears, new bearings, that kinds of things, then obviously we are going to need to obviously get this stripped down. Obviously a fantastic replica of this one, incredibly solid piece of kit, if you know what I mean. So just, you know, it's almost like you can club people with this, you know. So everything is just all spot on, absolutely no front end wobble, you know. Hear some crap on the internet, don't you? So yeah, it's yeah, just like I say, just really good good gun. One of the best things is these positive fire selectors, with the fire selector that goes all the way through the gearbox. It's just fantastic. It's like a gas blowback. But yeah, great quality. So with SD6 we just want to remove some of these screws just to get access to this, and then this you know, screws and bits and bobs I'm just going to dump into a bag just to keep together. Same as what we always do with the screws and stuff, always just do a comparison when you're obviously doing your disassemblies. You know, obviously you're comparing length of screws, you're comparing the threads of screws, so that when it comes to obviously you know, rebuilding guns and stuff, you're making sure that you put all parts in the correct place. This is just holds a battery in place, if you know what I mean. So, and it goes like that. Inside there's like a little battery cover. There's a selection of them in the box, and you just clip the battery cover in there, and then obviously it just covers the battery once the battery's in place. Most people aren't going to use this, but that's what this little bit is for, like that. And you get the little cover and you click it in place. So just remember, if that falls out, where that's from. like literally no movement whatsoever. You know what I mean? It's like freaking idiots. Right, so you've got 2 screws holding this front end assembly. So this front end assembly obviously comes up as a one piece. There's no need to you know, disassemble it or do anything with it. That said, it can be quite complicated if you want to do something like a charge handle replacement. It's actually a bit of a pig to get all this apart, but there's basically hidden screws underneath there and underneath there. And then obviously all this assembly here has to come apart, and then eventually you can get this central section out to replace the charge handle if you need to. But I'd suggest, like I say, leaving that whole front section well enough alone. I'm just going to put that to the side. Okie dokie. So the top section is just going to have to come off next, so we need this pin. Just knock that through. Okay, so for removing this, just take one wire through at a time. And once it's out of the way, flip the gun over, and then we just push up here with your thumb, and then just unclip the hop unit and pull it forward. So obviously, you know, TM's latest design, short entry point. You know, so obviously the least amount of BBs being dropped out, and obviously it feeds all the BBs. Also, you've got the two-piece arm system there and a TDC design, so obviously it goes up and down in a complete straight line. There's no hinged to it. which is obviously the best way for obviously having a top-down pressure, and then obviously a rotary design so that it can't unwind itself during use, and obviously the clicks are quite nice. But yeah, yeah, obviously a click, you know, a notch that holds the barrel located centrally, so obviously it has no twist to it. You know, it's got every latest feature on this hop unit, if you know what I mean, that you could possibly be looking for in terms of a design perspective. So when people say, obviously, have you got any upgraded hop units for it? I mean, you know, just from a design perspective, it's why would you want to replace this? It's got everything. The only reason, you know, you might want to replace it is if you've obviously broken yours and you now need to find a convenient replacement of. In which case, I believe WeTech do one. So yeah. Right. So obviously we're going to have to get this handle off next. So we're just going to be removing all this, which is T10. It's self-tapping, so just hold the pressure down on it so that you're not obviously damaging the threads as you take this out. Again, self-tapping threads, so when you're reassembling it all, you don't want to be using things like electric screwdrivers on self-tapping threads. You can over torque them and just rip all the threads through. All cross thread. Base plate there with directional, they're giving you a convenient little arrow there, and then we're obviously recovering the base plate screw at the same time. So we're going to loosen off the wiring for the screws. There's currently no brushless motor options for this, unfortunately, until they make something that's compatible with the Marui MOSFET unit. They're obviously going to be bringing out more and more products, so obviously I prefer to wait for the companies to do compatible products, and until then we'll obviously just keep fitting brushed motors. It's obviously better performance on the brushless motors, but it's obviously better performance to have a MOSFET system built in than not. So obviously we'd still highly recommend using the MOSFET system that comes with this for the enhanced trigger response in combination with a brushed motor, and then we'll hopefully get the motor companies playing catch up at some point. And or aftermarket MOSFET systems, that would be also ideal, where instead we use an aftermarket brushless motor in combination with an aftermarket MOSFET system, but again we're sort of waiting to see obviously what TM will do with the next gun and then the next gun after that, because then obviously the you know, companies like Jeftron can then obviously decide whether it's worth the investment, with obviously how many you know, people might potentially buy MOSFETs. I still think there's a lot of market there. You know, obviously if there was a MOSFET available for this right now, this customer probably would be installing it, you know. So if there was brushless motors available for it right now, somebody would probably be choosing to install them, you know. So sometimes they don't, you know. We've got a level 1 package ordered for an M4 at the moment, so it's just a basic spring and MOSFET. So sometimes people do, sometimes people don't. There's obviously advantages that come from some of these aftermarket MOSFETs, so it's obviously nice to see TM up in their game, but yeah, it's hard to beat an aftermarket company once they put their mind to something. So this fire selector, we just basically have to grab it and pull. We need to move it into the this position here, and then wiggle it out. Like so. So left side, obviously pull the left one out, but just make sure you pull that trigger at the same time to get it to come out. Here it comes. Right, so lower receivers to the side and out of the way. So obviously the actual disassembly to get to this stage is fairly easy. So obviously we've only had about 4 or 5 screws and a couple of pins. Now obviously we've got the gearbox out. It gets a little bit more complicated just because sort of like an Audi engine, So in terms of its everything's all moulded and built to the actual shape of the gun. Even though technically this section here is new V2 gearbox. With sort of just a section on the back there, if you know what I mean. So like in Scar, obviously the unit at the top here is proprietary. Obviously the M system FET on the side here is proprietary, but yeah, otherwise new V2 here. Righty, so just going to carry on with this. So this is the system that obviously lets the MOSFET know that you've re-engaged the bolt mechanism, i.e. the charge handle cocking. We're going to be removing this blowback mechanism, so we need to just pop this e-washer off. So all these e-washers, aren't they? There it goes. Okay, so we'll retract the guide rod. Cover. This is the blowback cover. Right, so just pay attention to obviously the alignment of this rack. It's really common that people break these racks by putting this back on in the incorrect position. So don't do that. So that's your weight system removed, and then obviously just pay attention to where this other weight rod is coming through, and where the orientation of obviously rubber and then metal washer is, because obviously we're going to want to put all that back on in proper place. So we've got a few more Phillips screws just to get the MOSFET off. So obviously you got black over red, so we're just going to take it off in that orientation. So that's your Marui FET. It's just the light prism block. So you don't have to replace the bushings. In theory, obviously, if you just want to upgrade the power spring right now, obviously you can just carry on removing these screws, separate the two halves, replace the power spring, put it back in, and then obviously rebuild it back up and just try your luck across the chrono and see what happens. Obviously, if you're just looking for sort of just increasing a bit of FPS, then that's going to be your path of least resistance, not touching any of this other stuff. But obviously we're trying to build sort of guns for longevity, and technically speaking, given enough use, we have seen obviously bushings go, so we're obviously going to be replacing those. We've seen pistons break, so we're going to be replacing those. We haven't seen cylinders break obviously, but we're going to be replacing that anyway. Nice shiny one. So obviously you've got the cylinder here, specific length, for obviously the length of barrel that Marui's got here. So we're just going to be going sort of around about 3/4 length, just because we're going to be using slightly heavier ammos. So try and recover all your screws, your gearbox shell. So obviously if you were, like I said, just wanting to go power spring, you just want to replace that now. I mean, to be fair, like I say, the piston, is really nice. Marui's got this lovely new carbon fibre one. Obviously the gears still, unfortunately, the sort of pot metal stuff, which obviously eventually does give up the ghost. But you can get quite a substantial amount of time on them. Like I say, these guns don't have to be gutted. It's just a difficult thing with regards to upgrades and stuff, because obviously, I have to approach obviously, doing guns as in I would do my own, and obviously with my own gun, I would upgrade it. So I just would. I don't want to leave any potential gains left on the table when it comes to my airsoft game. So, but that's just me and my personal preference. And if it requires money, then that's what my hobby gets. So yeah, it is what it is. So for the process of just to follow on with our processes, we need our paperwork. We need a pen and we need a hold. Yeah, so what's quite interesting is obviously with the stock shimming is you know, we've seen nothing on this top one here. So so when it comes to the bevel with TM stock shimming, it's actually 0 on the top, and then we've got 60 on the bottom, which we've seen a couple of times now. So, so yeah, it's just you know, like I say, in some ways it doesn't matter. You know, it's just taking a note, if you know what I mean, before you start. Obviously, if you have to, just use computer terminology. You know, you're not sure where you're at. You can always roll back. You know, you can always go back to that measured numbers there, put them back in. You know, using your caliper, and like I say, you can even if you're sort of not sure what to do or with it, then you can just do that. So I'm just going to pop this to the side here. Just remember that nut is going to go in there. So we need to prep the bushings and get these seating. I've got another gun I want to get started as well, so we may end up just boxing some of this and just I want to get two drying. Okay, so customer mentioned about not replacing these bushings because he wants the gun to be as quiet as possible. You know, the sound decrease from leaving plastic bushings in there is just not going to be worth me sending out a gun into the world that might potentially fail. We just have to balance our builds that we do with our experience and then obviously customers' opinions and stuff, and just to do every other upgrade part except from the bushings, which was the customer's recommendation. It's just no point. We need to sort out the bushings, which are a potential failure point to obviously stop this gun coming back, because contrary to popular belief, we're not like Hyundai. We do not want guns back. So we don't want guns coming back every year. If people want to because they feel like their gun needs a service, then by all means book in, but it's not something we go out of our way to encourage. It is just not needed. We've got so many guns that could be upgraded or made better. There's just plenty of workbench time for those. We just don't need to sit encouraging servicing work. He's in half in. Crikey. So we need to check the fitment on the new FPS bushings. These are nice and low profile, these, so we get on quite well with these. Bear in mind they're 0.5 or 5.59. They're not quite going in these holes, are they? Yeah, these are about 6 when you measured out the actual thing. So even though they're obviously advertised as 5.9mm. Engineering tolerance is fun 8. And this is the kind of stuff that you you can design a gun all day long, in terms of concept and design, and I'm going to design it with fit 5.9mm bushings in there, and then obviously when you get inside, oh look, it doesn't fit. So we now seat these in place. Don't want to be press fitting them in there, like hammering them. Just want to obviously damage the casing, and we use the Loctite to seat them properly. If I can find it. Here it is. Oh, flipping hell. Every time you see a bit wasted, you're just like, oh my god, you know how much that costs. Sit nice and flush, flat they will. Okay, so we need to double check this one here as well. So that middle one's really good, but the other ones are a little tight. We just want those to set. So what we're going to do is I've got to test an SGR from yesterday, and then we're going to probably set this stuff to the side, and then I'll probably just so the camera bench is free, and then I'll start on a Mark 46 and see if I can get that prepped. Yeah, so I'm going to pause this one here. Okay, so I'm just carrying on this MP5. Apologies, I've just been working sort of off camera a little bit. Just nice listening to music and stuff, but I thought I'd pick up from here and just carry on. So we've got some sort of content to put together for a video. So I've just done some shimming on these on the gears, so we're just ready to just do a quick amp test just to make sure that obviously everything's spinning good, and obviously bed them in a little bit with some grease. So we're just going to do that now, and obviously just record our final readings for our shimming. Okay, for the MP5, obviously you want to do height checks with obviously the pistons, which we've done, to make sure that everything's, you know, there's clear interference, because obviously it's, especially when using the FPS ones, you want to make sure that the sector gear is centrally in the rack. So we've obviously checked the height of the sector gear with obviously the middle spur gear, just to make sure there's clearance there with the step heights. We've done the pinion to bevel height settings with this bevel, and we've got about 4.2 amp draw, which is consistent with the strong magnets on the Samaruim Cobalt motors. So yeah, we will just move on now to next. Got some shimmings there, might as well recover these while we're at it. Some odd sizes, don't we? It's like not quite two. Just put that extra screw in there, so we've got obviously the 4 screws holding down the gearbox to make sure we get the accurate shim. Obviously what we want to do is, obviously if there is any resistance you know, on the circuit, we want to obviously check for that, any sort of over shimming. We want to obviously blast off some of the excess grease, just to obviously get things moving quicker and less work for the motor. Obviously we don't want it to be too much work for these motors, bless them. So still use the brushed ones. Okay, so it's a little convoluted. You can obviously use the original MOSFET and just put that back on there, and then obviously just wire everything up and then just run it. But I like the dedicated loop, just as you know, if there is a problem, you know, over shimmed or something like that, and you haven't quite realised it, is that then going to obviously cause you know, overheating and damage on a MOSFET. So so we take the MOSFET out of the equation and just test on a just a basic loop. I think that's the one. Pretty sure. The fiddliest parts is getting these wires in with the motor connector. Pain in the arse, isn't it? It's all preparation. Once you get the shimming all prepared and done, you know, it's then just a matter of obviously, you know, not changing them, you know. But until it's obviously prepared, it's a lot of work. See too much excess when I was putting the wires through, but it's not too bad. Just tuck that over like that. Okay, so springy motor, make sure it's springy, and then obviously we want to use gravity to hold that motor base plate in place, and wiggle, wiggle, push, make sure it springs, and then hold it in place. Keep backing it out and keep turning, and just until you find no resistance. Sometimes it makes a click, but you start to turn and there's just resistance, and you just don't want to be starting to cut a new thread. So I'm going to keep that in good condition, and therefore there's no need to buy the expensive replacement parts, if you know what I mean, because we don't break it in the first place, you know. Okay, so we can run that as soon as I find a ammeter. Just going to let that rest for a few minutes and then we'll carry on again. seems to have dropped down to around about 416. So our 3 gear reading. Oh crap, I unplugged it. Yeah, so it's actually less with 3 gears now that we've bedded it in than it was with just a single gear on its own. So, so yeah, it just shows, you know, obviously how beneficial the bedding in period can be for motor and gears. So obviously we're going to go back in now that we're obviously happy with the result and build up the gearbox and gun with obviously all the you know, gearbox internals, obviously upgraded power spring, and then we'll obviously do the hot rubber. I think we're going to do an R-hot patch on this particular one with a modified TM hot rubber, and then yeah, then obviously, you know, put it you know, to the side ready for range testing on the weekend. So so we'll get this built up now, and yeah. Just the hardest part is just the shimming, and you know, like I say, it's most time consuming bit. So we don't need our wiring anymore.
Okay, so I like to just rub the bushings just to make sure there's no shims that are sort of stuck on them. So that means obviously all shims are recovered now and put onto the so I'm just going to take off some of this excess. Just don't need it in there. So we can start reassembling some of this. Make sure there's nothing that might catch on the runners. Cool. If anything, it's almost like too good a seal, isn't it? Right. So gears I can put back in, obviously no anti-reversal latch because you know that's what it is. We've got the so we've got spring and spring guide, tapper plate air nozzle. Cuff lever. atmosphere. Screws, tappet plate spring. Nozzle, where's that new nozzle gone? I do like the Firefly products. I just wish there was a company we could more directly deal with to get their products. You have to go through like so many third parties to get them. By the time we do, it's somewhat overpriced. Nice products too. Freaking screw. tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go one power spacer and an M100, and then because it's going to be slightly heavier ammo, 3 2s, and then we'll see how that goes. I mean, ultimately, because people message us all the time saying which spring does what, all you can do is take your best guess and hope that this is correct FPS wise. Okay, so we're not missing any other parts, so we can close this up. Okay, obviously the spring for the tapper plate will go in separately, so we need to close this first. And just push the piston backwards and forwards just to make sure it's seated on its runners. So just through here like so, because obviously what you don't want to do is obviously trap it between the two halves of the shell as you're obviously popping it down. So that's now correctly in its position. So we can pop in a screw. So just on the surfaces underneath the inside edge, we just want obviously to trap it between this flat surface and another flat surface. We don't want to be putting it onto the actual threads itself. So you'll want to gently sort of go round, try and sort of evenly tighten them up, but don't over tighten to start off with. And bring the different parts of the shell down together. Like I say, once halves are done, you can sort of just, again, I'm not like over tightening these, you just want to sort of just make sure they're nipped up, and that should be sufficient without obviously you know cranking these or getting leverage on them. They just don't need that level of tightness. Just nip tight and that should be sufficient. Obviously make sure that your tapper plate and nozzle are free moving and they're not jammed or trapped between the cylinder at all. Then obviously we can flip this over, and obviously the benefit of this particular model is an easy access tapper plate spring, so we can just pop this back in, pop a little bit of grease on there. Okay, so we've got spring back in there, spring back in there, and oh crap, I forgot to put the this back in. This has to go back in. That's annoying. It's bloody well trapped in there, doesn't it? Every flipping time. Your Loctites will stay on there, so and they're not quite set, so got a little bit of time just to do crap like this. We're all moving, so we've got that plate to go back on. We have this blowback bar to go back on. I need to get the recoil weights. Yeah. All right. So when you're moving this backwards and forwards, you want to make sure that this rack is right at the back, and that rack's right at the front. If you don't, then you risk breaking this rack when you're putting it all back together again. chameleon. Shit. This friggin' spring on. You get like a sort of rasp noise sometimes from this, you know, it tends to be this spring making that, so just get some grease onto it. Right, MOSFET, let's get him back in. So route your wiring around the front. Should be a little glass piece. There it is. Transparent. That's why. So, I've got this one. Sticking to that magnet. Okay, so we've got the blowback cover which goes here, and we've got the bar which is going to slide through there, and then we've got the front metal part which goes like that. So we're going to slide this way. There we go. So you just have to make sure this part is over this rack when you there you go, like that, when you're reassembling it all. So we've got everything back in there now, so we can start reassembling the lower section of the gun. God, I can be such an arsehole getting these cables in. There we go. That reminds me, I need to pop that back on. I'll get this one in, but I do like to put the selector in first. Red, red, black, black. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Maybe twice cut once, eh? If you lose these little E-clips, we do them on the website underneath SCAR 16 part number. They'll be labelled as E-washers. So, we're pretty much done with that section. Spec'd up with the Psionic hot rubber, but we don't get on well with that on MP5s, that particular product, and they're not making a new one, unfortunately. So until we can get the Prometheus ones back into stock, we're modifying the original TM and combining that with an R-hop patch in order to get that sort of new style of shot type that people are looking for. Okay, so the new Neo version has the cuts the same for SD6 rubber, or the new version of the hot rubber. New barrel, but it's always worth cleaning it. So you're going to need something to flip and invert the hot rubber for the adrenaline process.
find a roll pin works quite well. Obviously, the more new guns TM bring out with this AEP style of hot rubber, the more chance we have of more companies obviously jumping on the bandwagon. The concept obviously being is that it has the bits at the edge here which obviously grip the barrel in these slots, therefore obviously meaning that it's not like a sleeve, and you know, when people have to do like PTFE mod, obviously it grips in the barrel, and then when you obviously push it in there, it effectively does what the PTFE mods would do, which obviously seal off the end of it for providing a better air seal. So obviously it comes built in with that, so therefore automatically making it a better style of hot rubber than the AEG ones. And then obviously from a manufacturing perspective, it's physically smaller and yet does the exact same thing in terms of providing lift and hop, but obviously for a shorter amount of distance, therefore less material. And obviously manufacturers like that, because obviously less material means less cost. So and obviously the smaller you can make things, you know, the more they can cram in these guns. So so just overall, obviously it's miniaturizing things, making things smaller. That was the concept of obviously moving away from the AEG hot rubber design, which is obviously from, you know, many moons ago. We need to make sure this is flat for obviously, you know, providing equal pressure everywhere.
about right, doesn't it? So we need to get a patch kit out. So Psionic do patch kits. So the concept of moving over to the pre-purchased as a company, moving over to the pre-purchased patches is that we're looking for obviously more consistency with the manufacturer cutting the patches as opposed to us, even though you obviously try for consistency in modifying this. Obviously I would have preferred a pre-done product that obviously I could put straight on there, obviously A, for time saving, but also so that we could fits fine. Yeah, for time saving, but also so that we could you know, obviously maintain that consistency. So from build to build. Shit, I think I have to leave this off with the there was a washer somewhere. There it is. A ring, sorry. Okay, so upside down. So wiggle the barrel and move it backwards and forwards, and obviously make sure you get that positive click in that this particular hop unit offers. So some AEGs, even when you put all this in place, if you know what I mean, let's put the C-ring in, obviously you get this huge movement left and right and backwards and forwards, so it's obviously fantastic that this clips it in, you know, that positively. It's this, you know, no room for barrel movement. It's a fantastic hop unit. Okay, so I need a small small nub, which we are going to fit in here just with a smidge of this just to hold it in place. Hold it up to the light, and then obviously you can sort of see what it looks like down there. We can get BB. Oh, fuck's sake. Pop it in there, and then we can run our cleaning rod through. Just feel the sort of tension on obviously pressing this BB through. Obviously it shouldn't be difficult. So we don't want obviously hang up jams, you know, from obviously getting caught on the hot rubber. It's the original nub, so I need to pop that in there. So we're going to pop the pop unit on, which just clicks into place. So on the other side here there is a latch. What we can do is we start with the lowest cables and go in the medium cable and then the top cable, and make sure that these lay flat across here so that obviously the rotary dial is able to go underneath it. Then we want to bend some of these cables so that obviously we can poke it down the upper receiver here. Slide in these bits. Anyone who doesn't like the engineering that has gone into this particular replica, you know, to innovate and change, is just being obtuse. Maybe the best way to describe them. You know, it really is just so much of an improvement over the original TM MP5, which obviously all other MP5s are based on. It's such a better design than the original 2.5 one. So this wire in here just needs to come up through this wire root hole and put a bit of pressure on. Obviously we've made sure that the spring is in on the end of the barrel. Obviously that spring loads the hop unit obviously against the gearbox. So now we want to just tighten up these hole screws at the top, which holds the front end section on. Okay, so that's the front end section on there, like I say, all solid. There's no movement there. We've got this pin, there's a locating pin. Which is just going to hold this in at the back. Okay, and that's it. Obviously we've got the rear stock just to push on. Obviously we've got to put the covers back on here on the SD6, but obviously we can may or may not do that on video. Obviously we're now at a testing stage. Obviously we've got the upgraded hop in there. We've obviously strengthened all the parts inside, obviously using a stronger, faster motor, without obviously going too fast. Obviously got the stronger piston in there. So yeah, I'd say it's a more robust version of what it was previously, even though obviously it's already a really good gun. And hopefully improve for the customer. Obviously we need to do some range testing on some heavy ammo, just to make sure that obviously it can lift 3.2s out to out to a decent distance. And yeah, so we'll do that testing on Saturday or Sunday. Then obviously just make sure everything's all good and FPS is correct after that testing. Obviously we don't want to test FPS before with range tests. Obviously the hop needs to be set at the customer's preferred setting, you know, distance wise, you know, at the correct ammo. Obviously any reading before that is somewhat meaningless, so we need to get all that done first. So we'll go do that, and then hopefully come back with the rest of it. Hello, Richard speaking from Eagle6 Airsoft. We're going to be testing this Marui SD6. This is a new build, so obviously a brand new SD6, and we've upgraded it with quite a lot of the internals. Effectively everything's upgraded. So we've got the custom Cobalt high torque motor from TM. We've got the Firefly Air nozzle. We've got the FPS cylinder head. We've got the FPS piston and piston head. We've got the so it's Eagle6 upgraded mainspring. We've got the AEG Psionic hop rubber. We've got the Psionic sort of Omega style nub. We've got the Prometheus hard gears in 18:1. And yeah, and that's everything. So obviously there's a Dean's adapter which we've done on there to just to convert over from the MR30. Obviously if you want to run the MR30, just remove the adapter. If you want to run the Dean's or the Mini Tamiya, just use the Mini Tamiya adapter that's in the box. And yeah, other than that, all good. We had some fun and games with a barrel problem. Oh yeah, sorry, it's got the Prometheus tightbore barrel, which we had to modify just to make sure it works properly. Yeah, and we tested it at range. It is quite strong on the FPS, so it's 285 with the limit being 286, so it is right up there. Obviously if that's too much, just let us know, but obviously there's a lot of players out there that would sort of, you know, quite like obviously being, you know, bang up against the limit, but just if it is is a problem, obviously, you know, I personally think it'll settle down a little bit, you know, because guns tend to not go up, they tend to go down over time. So so obviously starting up with a nice high number is probably going to be quite good long term, but let's see how you go. Obviously we don't want guns being turned away at sights, but see how you get on, or let us know. But yeah, otherwise I'm just going to demonstrate it working, just to make sure everything's all good. It locks off when empty. There you go, so all tested and working. Obviously SD6, very, very popular gun at the moment, there's no two ways about So yeah, so we hope you enjoy it. These are currently out of stock for everybody else, but we'll hopefully be able to get a restock for February for everybody, because we know they're being quite requested quite a lot. It's crazy, like I say, a year ago we were struggling to shift them, but now it's just constant requests for SD6. So yeah, so we hope you enjoy it, and we'll try and restock it for everybody else as soon as we can. Thank you very much.